Hi, in the last video we saw how to deploy Netbox as your inventory solution, right? We added R1 as one of the devices in Netbox, and we can also use it as an IPAM or IP address management solution in case you want to track your prefixes in your network. Now, in this video, we're going to take advantage of one cool feature of Netbox, and that is the APIs. Now, if you're new to automation, API stands for Application Programming Interface. Essentially, it is an interface on the Netbox, just like a virtual interface or an interface that allows you to log into a network device in case you want to make changes or get information from the router or switch. So the software Netbox in this case has this API, this interface that essentially will allow us to do the same thing. And we'll be able to query the devices that we have in Netbox, and we can also take advantage of this interface to make changes on the devices. And we're going to use another tool for this. That's going to be Ansible. Ansible, it is a powerful tool that we can use to automate things. And what I mean by automation, so if you're new to automation, just want to build context here. Say you have 50, 100 devices or more, right? And you have to do some tasks such as making change of your DNS or NTP server on your network. So normally, and I've seen this, you will or you would log into each device and change the IP address of those servers individually, manually, right? And all it is just one line or two lines of command, but that's a repetitive task that takes time. It will take time of the administrator. So one way to save time is by using Ansible, and we just create an inventory file with all the network devices that we have to make the change, and also have another piece of code that is going to be sent to those devices. And let me prevent this from turning off the screen. And so we can use Ansible for that matter. Okay, we can make changes on a range of devices kind of automatically, just all at once. Okay, so instead of using this inventory file that we have to create manually, we're going to rely on Netbox for that part. So we're going to use Netbox as the inventory source that is going to feed Ansible with the network devices, and we'll be able to make changes, or in this case more precisely, we'll be able to get the configuration, the running configuration from the device. So I'm going to add actually I'm going to add two additional devices, and I have a topology running with 3 devices, 2 routers and 1 switch. And there are a couple of some changes that I did since previous videos. One of them is now I changed the device role to router instead of core device, and we're going to add one additional role. That's going to be switch. So let me type switch, and the friendly shorthand will be switch, and I'm going to save this. And so we have a device role, and now let me add one additional device. Also, I changed the device type to be iOS-V because those images, they are iOS-V kind of. So let's add one more device, and first will be R2. So device role, it is a router, and device type iOS-V. And this is on site XPWise, and platform, I don't have anything here, it's active, and let's just save this and create. So we have R2 And now we have to assign an interface to R2. So going to add components, interfaces, and the interface will be, I'm using E00, and the type I'm using 10100ME. Let's just leave duplex as it is. Operation, management. Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to create this. Now I'm going to assign an IP address to this interface. So click on plus IP address, and the IP will be 192.168.43.22/24, and we can leave as it is. So management, and I'm going to make this as the primary IP for the device, and just going to create this. Okay, so we added R2 with interface and the IP address 43.22. Now I'm going to add one more device, and that's going to be switch. So that's going to be probably switch 3, and that's going to be a switch as the device role. Device type is the same, iOS V. This is on my site, XPWise, and I believe that's it. So we can create. Okay, now we have to assign an interface to the switch. So the module, not yet. So the interface is going to be VLAN 1, and this is a virtual interface. And what else do we need? No, everything's okay. Now we can create this. So now let's add an IP address to this interface, and the switch will be 43.23/24. And this is, no, we can leave it. What else? Make this primary for the device, yes. And I believe that's it. Okay, so now let's see, we have 3 devices. We have R1, R2, R3. They are on the same side. We have 2 routers, 1 switch, same manufacturer, same type, and their IP address. So from the Netbox perspective, we have everything done for now. Okay, so we can start the installation of the libraries and tools. So actually I have all the steps here, and you can find them in the video description. So we already added the devices, and the next step should be to set the platform type, and we're not going to do this yet. I want to show you first why we have to set this value. So we're going to skip for now, and we'll get into our Netbox server. So this is the Ubuntu machine, and we're just going to create a directory where we're going to work or to store the backup files. So just going to the terminal and going to create a directory. So let's see, what is the name? Netbox underscore Ansible. So get inside that directory, and so we're just going to install these libraries, Python, pip, and so these should, so for these requirements, they are already satisfied, as you can see, because I installed them earlier. So just to show you that all of them are already installed. So after installing this part, I have to install also Ansible. So you can see that it's done. So you have to install all of these, and also the Galaxy collection for Netbox, and the Ansible collection to manage Cisco iOS, because we are interacting only with Cisco iOS in this video. Okay, so if you're using Next OS, you would have to use a different collection for Cisco. Okay, so next we need to create a token on Netbox. So we go back to Netbox, and here on the profile we'll select API tokens, and we're going to add a token. And here we're going to create a token. It's going to be generated one key for us. We're just going to copy these and paste into this script or kite. whatever you want to call it. And now we're going to create the Netbox inventory file. So this is the file that Ansible will use to connect to Netbox. So back to terminal, I'm just going to use nano, and I'm going to copy all of these. So actually I have to change the token first. So let me copy and paste this. So essentially what it's doing, we have here a plugin. Okay, it's just a reference that we want to use the Netbox inventory. This is inside Ansible, and we're going to set the API endpoint. This is the IP of machine running Netbox. In this case, we are running locally. So if we had this on a remote server, that would be the IP address of that server. The token, and we are just ignoring self-signed certificates, and we are filtering the results by device role. So I'm just going to copy all of these, make sure this is a YAML file. I'm just going to paste this and save. Okay, so next we have to create the Ansible config file. If you never used Ansible before, so we can use Ansible global configuration settings, or we can use local ones. So instead of relying on global ones, we're going to create an Ansible local configuration file. I'm going to use a nano as well. So here inside this file, all we have to do is to set to point to the inventory we can use or we want to use. We could use state one, but in this case we are using a dynamic one, so we're relying on the Netbox inventory. I'm just going to copy all of these and paste this. So I will leave the link to the commentation for this in the video description in case you want to go deeper into these subjects. So just make sure that we have two files. We have the Ansible configuration file and we have a Netbox inventory file. So now we can test whether Ansible is able to connect to Netbox before we proceed any further. I'm just going to copy these and paste and cross fingers, and we should get the devices, and we do, that are in Netbox. We can see we have R1 IP address, we have its primary IP address, we have R2 is a router, and we have switch 3, and switch 3 is a switch. So everything seems okay so far. So Netbox and Ansible, they are connected. Okay, so now we want to create the playbook, okay, the task that is going to log into the devices and get the configuration and store locally on a folder. Actually inside this directory, I'm just going to make the folder, so I'm just going to name it as backups. Okay, so now we have this folder backups where we're going to store the configuration for those devices. And the way Ansible will log into those devices is will rely on SSH. So before going any further, you should enable SSH on your devices. Now I already did this for R1, and I'm going to show you 4321. Now CCA65745. So I am inside R1 and I have SSH enabled. Now I also have Telnet enabled for R2, and oh, my bad, it's 22. Okay, so I'm inside R2 and I want to show you the problems that you might face and how to solve them. So first, let's enable SSH on R2. So first we have to set the domain name. In this case, I'll use salesiucarvalho.com. Now we have to generate the SSH keys or the crypto keys. So it's going to be crypto key generate RSA modulus 248. Okay, and just going to enable SSH version 2. It is supposed to be more secure, so it's taking a while. Okay, so just set to version 2, and I'm going to create an admin, so privilege 15, password 6865745. Okay, and we want to enable remote login, so I'll say first I have to set, okay, transport input SSH. Hope I don't lose connection. Okay, so far so good. And login local. Okay, so seems like it's working. I don't want to leave just yet, so if I try to SSH to let's see, Delizio at 192.168.43.22. If you try to SSH to R2, this is the error we're going to receive. So the way to solve this is by, let me show you. So I have solution. So we have to add or to allow those less safe keys on Ubuntu. So I'm just going to copy these, and you have to make this change as a sudo. And okay, so I'm just going to paste these, and I already have these. I'm just going to add also for 22. Okay, and that's done. Okay, now if I try to log into 4322, yes, PCIe 65745. Okay, now it's working. Okay, so now we can use Ansible to SSH into those devices. Now back to our script. So I'm going to log out R2. So the next step, so I have R2 ready, so we can create this backup playbook. I'm going to copy, going to use nano, okay, and copy and run this playbook. Copy. Okay, just make sure that we have everything okay. So network CLI, get effects false. We're going to run this command. So this is Cisco iOS command, show run save output to this folder backup. So this folder should exist, and we already did this, and we expect to see two files for R1 and R2, because this is going to only get the files from the routers. Okay, so save, exit. So now if I try to run this playbook, backup network device, and should try, and we'll get this error. So please manually configure Ansible network operating system for this host. Now this is where the platform comes into the picture. Okay, I said that we're going to see it later on, so that's why we need to set the platform. So we have to go back to Netbox platforms, and we're going to add the platform, and we'll say, okay, this is iOS. Okay, and manufacturer, we can say, okay, this is Cisco, and we're going to create these. And now we have to say which devices have these are running this platform. So we can go to devices, select all of them, and let's see, we can edit selected, and we're going to set the platform to be iOS for the 3 devices. Okay, and that's the only change we want to make, and we're going to apply these changes to those devices, and we can now see that uh, iOS platform, we have 3 devices. Now if you return to our playbook and we try to run again, it should work now for R1 and R2. You can see, okay, so what is the problem now? Fail to deny. Okay, so actually I forgot that I have to pass the credentials to log in as Celesio, and also I'll use the flags -k so that I can type the password. So I forgot about this detail, and now it should work. So okay, so it's running the first task. Okay, so running and it changed. Okay, so let's confirm that we have something in our directory. So we can see we have R1 config and R2 config. So can we check the content? So R1, and this is the running config of R1. You see there. So what about R2? Just check R2, and it's working as well. We were able to successfully integrate Ansible with Netbox as the dynamic inventory, and we even created one playbook so that we can download or create a backup for the network devices. So I hope you found this video useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Adios.